Ladies and gentlemen, family and friends, scholars and dignitaries, welcome to another episode. Welcome to my world. Hello, friends. This is a very serious discussion I want to have with you today because one of the most dangerous dynamics that the public has struggled with that has caused more illness and accidents, crime, economic poverty and homelessness, mental illness, and family dysfunction is drug abuse. And one of the primary drugs of choice, especially as of late, is marijuana. Now, I don't know how strongly I can say this. I and the entire healthcare and medical community are opposed to the use of marijuana as a recreational drug. Research on the health and safety effects of marijuana strongly correlates with many mental, emotional, psychological, and physical problems. In addition, many crimes, accidents, job and school performance problems are both associated and strongly correlated with the use of marijuana. And of course, while not everyone that uses marijuana becomes drug dependent, the reality is that, as with alcohol and other drugs, marijuana use certainly can lead to profound, chronic, and progressive chemical dependency. In fact, addiction to marijuana has been growing much faster since the development of high potency types of marijuana. In the 60s and 70s, the THC content of marijuana was 1 to 3%, but today marijuana products may have a THC content as high as 90%. That's a formula for certain addiction. Its use can be very serious, dangerous, and have a profound impact upon the quality of life for hundreds of thousands of Americans and their families. The American Medical Association said that cannabis was a dangerous drug. It has an inherently high potential for abuse, that we should actively discourage use, and they recommended that people do not use marijuana. They also came out with a policy statement against the legalization of marijuana. And the American Psychiatric Association found that marijuana use is related to 8 psychiatric mental disorders, including anxiety disorders, depression, bipolar disorder, schizophrenia, amotivational syndrome, disruptive cognitive functioning, neuropsychological decline, and psychotic disorders. They also found high correlations with marijuana use and comorbidity for affective disorders, depressive disorders, antisocial disorders, secondary substance abuse, and so on. In their study, the APA also identified 4 primary cannabis-induced physical disorders: lung damage, heart disease, cancer, and pregnancy complications. In both circumstances, the AMA and the APA found that marijuana is a dangerous drug, and again, it is not recommended for human consumption. According to a study by the Drug Abuse Warning Network, there are over 400,000 marijuana-related admissions into hospital emergency rooms every year. According to the Department of Health and Human Services TED study, there are some 350,000 admissions of people into drug treatment programs every year who stated that marijuana was their primary drug of addiction, and there are hundreds of thousands more every year that say that marijuana was their secondary drug of addiction. Studies are now showing that driving under the influence of marijuana is the most commonly found drug in impaired drivers other than alcohol, and in the states that have legalized it, DUI is even much more pronounced. According to a comprehensive study in the American Journal of Psychiatry, marijuana smokers are 4 times more likely to report symptoms of depression, including suicidal thoughts, as compared to those who never use the drug. In a comprehensive study reported in the international medical journal Lancet, drugs were examined for degree of harmfulness across 16 different criteria of harm. Cannabis was found to have negative and harmful consequences in 15 of the 16 criteria studied. And a study published in Lancet Psychiatry found that users of high-grade THC of about 16% were 5 times more likely than non-users to have a psychotic disorder, and high-potency marijuana use alone was responsible for 24% of those adults presenting with first-episode psychoses being admitted into psychiatric services. I cannot state this strongly enough. I personally know people who smoked marijuana and who became depressed. I know people who became suicidal. I know people who had nervous breakdowns. I know people who became schizophrenic. I know people who became socially distant and totally isolated, even paranoid. I know people who became angry and full of rage. I know people who fell into poverty and became homeless. I know people who developed an amotivational syndrome, and I know people who became addicted. Many, many people. For many users, marijuana causes mild to severe distress, but they may not even recognize it. Because of the growing chemical dependency and the nature of the chemically induced system of defense mechanisms, they can't even see what's happening to them or that it's the marijuana causing it. And it may have even more profound physical or psychological effects, especially for the following: to individuals who are engaging in activities that could potentially place themselves and others at risk for personal injury, such as operating machinery, use of firearms, swimming, boating, driving, and so on. To women who are pregnant or trying to conceive. To people who have a family history of chemical dependency, like children of alcoholics. To individuals using other drugs, including alcohol or prescription medications, even over the counter medications. To all individuals who are predisposed to emotional issues and problems. To all children and adolescents, again, especially children of addicted parents. And to individuals who demonstrate some degree of chemical dependency on any substance. Please listen, this is serious. Marijuana is underestimated as a drug that can have harmful effects, especially to the mind, especially to the brain. You need to know that marijuana is not a benign and harmless substance. It is a mood modifying, mind altering, psychoactive, powerful drug of addiction. It changes the chemistry of the brain, and once introduced, you cannot control either the short term or long term effects. For the health, safety, and welfare of you and your family, remember the consumption of marijuana is not recommended. It can mess you up and burn you out. Hey, be safe, be well, and God bless.